5 seconds to go. Start. We are now going to have annual plans. Stop. Every year, a report of the annual plan will be placed here, which will give a more precise indication of the targets for that year. Stop. I hope to place a report of the annual plan of the first year of the second 5-year plan before this house during the next session. Stop. Para. We have said that our objective is a socialistic pattern of society. Stop. I do not propose to define precisely what socialism means in this context because we wish to avoid any rigid or doctrinaire thinking. Stop. Even in my life, I have seen the world change so much that I do not want to confine my mind to any rigid dogma. Stop. But broadly speaking, comma, what do we mean when we say socialist pattern of life? Sign of interrogation. We mean a society in which there is equality of opportunity and the possibility for everyone to lead a good life. Stop. Obviously, comma, this cannot be attained unless we produce the wherewithal to have the standards that a good life implies. Stop. We have, comma, therefore, comma, to lay great stress on equality, comma, on the removal of disparities, comma, and it has to be remembered always that socialism is not the spreading out of poverty. Stop. The essential thing is that there must be wealth and production. Stop. Para. There is a good deal of talk about ceilings, comma, and one naturally tends to agree with it because one wants to remove disparities. Stop. But one has always to remember that the primary function of a growing society is to produce more wealth, semicolon, otherwise it will not grow, comma, and one will have nothing to distribute. Stop. If in the process of fixation of ceiling or in any other method of producing some kind of equality, comma, you stop this process of wealth accumulation, comma, then you fail in your objective. Stop. Therefore, comma, whether it is in industry or agriculture, comma, the one and the primary test is whether you are adding to the wealth of the country by increasing the production of the country. Stop. If not, you become stagnant in that field. Stop. In order to reach equality, comma, as I hope we shall, comma, sometime or other, comma, we need not follow the road of some artificial fixation of ceilings, but 100 paths which gradually take us there. Stop. An artificial attempt may indeed prevent us from reaching it. Stop. Para. Remember this, colon, while we plan, comma, while we work, comma, our population also grows. Stop. I gave the house just now the estimated figure of our national income in the next 20 years. Stop. By the end of that period, the population of India will be round about 500 million. Stop. This rate of population growth is not that very great. Stop. Para. I am sure that the minister will look into it, and this kind of old things should not continue only because earlier it was there. Stop. Now, comma, in the market friendly economy to which we are now doing. Stop. I don't think, comma, the government should fix fees for lending or hiring. Stop. It should be left to the airports authority. Stop. Madam, comma, I would like to know from the minister, comma, as far as the National Airports Authority is concerned, comma, its built up capital is 600 crores of rupees. Stop. They have paid for an infrastructure which is being used by the International Airports Authority and the National Airports Authority. Stop. On what basis you are fixing this fees? Sign of interrogation. 600 crores of rupees only by the National Airports Authority by way of capital, and still it is in loss, comma, why? Sign of interrogation. When did you last revise the fees? Sign of interrogation. Now, comma, it is more relevant because infrastructure is made by the public sector and it would also be exploited by the private air taxi operators. Stop. As such, comma, I would like to know from the minister on what basis you are going to take the interest of your capital plus your normal profit, say, comma, 6 to 7%. Stop. Only if you charge 20% of your equity capital, comma, you will be able to give any profit. Stop. I think the fees which have been charged are very low. Stop. As such, comma, I would like the government to examine the aspect of charging the rental fees, comma, otherwise I think, comma, year by year, comma, the National Airports Authority, comma, though now it is merged, comma, will suffer losses. Stop. We should charge the commercial fees, semicolon, otherwise, comma, we will be giving a lot of relief to the private taxi operators. Stop. These fees should be revised. Stop. Para. As regards the safety measures, comma, madam, comma, one action the government has taken is prohibiting liquor. Stop. But, comma, what about bird hit? Sign of interrogation. There was one write-up in the newspapers that one private taxi after a bird hit, comma, instead of coming back to the same airport or nearby airport, comma, had gone to its destination. Stop. How was it all allowed? Sign of interrogation. I think it is the duty of the airport authorities to see that it comes back to the nearby airport or to the airport from where it had taken off. Stop. I want to know whether the government has made any inquiry, comma, and if any inquiry has been made, comma, what action has been taken on it? Sign of interrogation. I think it was modeled. Stop. I am not bothered about any particular airlines. Stop. I am not bothered about A, B, C, I am bothered about the policy and whether any action has been taken against that company or not. Stop. Para. Madam, it is very shocking to see that the policy followed from the time of independence is being given up. Stop. Nehru based his foreign policy on the preservations of India's global interests. Stop. His foreign policy principles were unchanging. Stop. National security was constant in Nehru's thinking. Stop. But we find that there is now a shift. Stop. The emphasis is only on regional problems when we must look at the problems on a global basis. Stop. Para. The longest eclipse of our independent foreign policy came during Narasimha Rao's regime. Stop. Rao told his partymen that NAM had ceased to be a force after the changes in Yugoslavia, comma, that India would never be subservient to or sit in the lap of any country, comma, that it would not tolerate arm twisting. Stop. Soon after making this bewildering statement, comma, he concisely steered the country's foreign policy towards getting into the good books of the United States. Stop. His government sought and abided by the advice of the United States centric World Bank IMF combined, opened all doors, windows and ventilators to the MNCs, and sought foreign investment at any cost. Stop. This was obviously not the way other nations invited foreign investment, not the way China did, not even on the basis of the elementary constant benefit calculations that guide the neighborhood Bania. Stop. The so called liberalization was done entirely in a posture of prostration. Stop. The result was, an array of inessential investments were made. Stop.